Yep, we're live. Technical issues. Excuse me. Let me turn on the light. So I don't know. Maybe it is my computer. It's acting up. I turned it on and off. All right, we're back in Lafayette. We'll get to the ride back yesterday. Super genius. With the move of the day, we'll talk about what's next for the Cajuns. Cajuns actually, they lost 3 players and gained like 6 basketball wise. This Caitlin Clark conversation has gone. I mean, it's gone from, what happened on the court to these women broadcasters are only famous because of Stephen A. I mean, how did we get here? That was one tough loss. By the way, it is episode 50 of the Schultzcast. Time flies when you're not doing anything. That's a one tough loss for the LSU Tigers. And you could say it was the same thing for both teams. The pitching yesterday was fantastic, right? The hard-throwing righty for Carolina was really good. Only lasted 2 innings. It didn't start off well for LSU, although I would tell you, Dutton gave up a laser on the 1-2 pitch to begin the game, but then got a couple of flares to fall in. And for some reason, Brown doesn't charge the ball and make a catch on it. Or, you can charge it and not have to dive, as the announcer said. If it gets past you, then we're off to the races. But okay, but it just looked like he waited for the ball to drop. And boy, Brown had a tough day. And this is where I get frustrated. These guys played the game, and they've been playing for at this point in time. I got to believe that these college baseball players have been playing baseball for a decade, and I got as far as like 6th or 7th grade before the ball got too fast for me. I was really good. I will rephrase that. I was not afraid of the baseball. Skipped a year, and then I was afraid of the baseball. But I just don't understand on how. LSU is reeling. Javon Coleman comes in, and despite what the home plate umpire was doing for most of the night last night, wasn't close to throwing a strike. He was all over the place, which is a tough spot, right? It's bases loaded, nobody out. You're coming into facing the cleanup hitter, and you walk him. Then the next guy swings at the first pitch. I don't care if it's a strike or not. What are you doing? See if he can throw 2 strikes in a row. I don't understand. I don't understand. Cajuns have that issue. It bothers me to no end. It bothers me to no end when you're, throwing to third base. You need to throw it to second to keep the force play alive or a double play alive. I don't know. Those fundamental things. I get much more upset about that than I do at like swinging, missing at a bad pitch, right? There was, it wasn't Ackenhausen. Maybe it was Helmers. One of those Carolina guys swung at a bad pitch that was not a strike to begin with. It just was never a strike, and the breaking ball went in under his hands. All right, you got less than a second and a half to make that decision. But to go up there trying to swing at the first pitch when, LSU's reeling out of control, right? I mean, LSU had 3 pitchers in 2 innings, right? Dutton started. That didn't go very well. Well, I would phrase that. You couldn't let it play out, but 2 of the hits he gave up were flares. Coleman comes in, walks on 4 pitches, a run in, and then gets a double play ball. And then the next guy hits the first pitch. I don't get it. LSU comes back, scores a run in the bottom of the inning, and then Brown, right, ties it up, and Jones, he crushes one. I thought it went high, and ended up going off the pine trees right behind the wall. I thought it went off the light post. And it's 3-2. And then both offenses went quiet, although I think everybody left a bunch of guys on base. Carolina left 11 men on base. They left 12 men on base the night before, right, in the first regional final. And 7 of them were in the last 3 innings. LSU's offense kind of went a little quiet. They only left 7 men on base. They had an odd regional, right? Where, They only hit a bunch of solo home runs to win the first game against Wofford. Bats come alive in games 2 and 3 and 4. And then nothing yesterday for the most part. And again, I mean, you feel bad for Jake Brown. That's going to be tough. Hopefully LSU fans, don't give them too hard a time. I'm sure that's going to be a thing. LSU fans are fickle. I mean, they are fickle. Remember, this was a preseason #1 team. I don't understand how that was. You can't lose the 2 best players in college baseball and still be that good. I had a friend of mine tell me, this may be the best that the Cajuns are going to be for a bit. You can't tell me, you had this dream season, which they kind of did with the player of the year. You had the pitcher of the year. You had, LaFleur come out of basically nowhere. Taylor had a great season. You win 16 in a row, 21 out of 22. You win the regular season. You go to the NCAA tournament. How does it get better from there? Well, I don't know how much better it has to get, right? I think the Cajuns, first of all, they've gone to the regional 3 times in a row. How often has that happened, right? I don't think they went 2012, 2013, 2014, right? Like they were one of those years, they were coming off a bad year. Like, was it a losing season? Was 12 a losing season? That's where I don't want to say it's a blind spot, but that's before I got here. One of those years was bad for baseball. Let me see. And I certainly know it's going to be sounding bad. The standard for LSU is championships. And really the standard for the Cajuns is to get to the tournament, right? And I don't really have a problem with that. I don't. Reality is reality, So the Cajuns in 2013 were 43-20. Where did that end? Let's see here. Sun Belt Conference tournament. They lost to Florida Atlantic. That was at the end. I guess they were playing for the championship. Baton Rouge, a regional. They lost to LSU 5-1. They actually lost to Sam Houston, beat Jackson State, beat Sam Houston, and then lost to LSU. That was 2013. That's right before I got here. Okay. So that would have been Bregman's freshman year. And that's how I remember that stuff. And let's see, but 2012, and then I guess this is the Deggs years, 12, 13, 14. 2012, they had a losing record, 23-30. So I don't know if the Cajuns have gone off the top of my head to the NCAA tournament like 3 years in a row, right? And what Deggs has done since taking over in what is a awful situation with the passing of one of his mentors, and Tony Robichaux, and then COVID, right? Same time frame. And so almost starting from less than 0 and not great 21, I guess. What was 21? Let me see. I think South Alabama beat them. I remember them coming in and they were not, something wasn't great when they came to Mobile that year. Let me see what they were in 21. Although I think they played in the semifinals because I think I remember the Cajuns beating them or the South Alabama beating them. Because I would have only been up there. So they were 32-23 and they didn't make the tournament, right? Let me see if I got that right. Oh, no. They beat Texas State. They beat App State, but they lost to Georgia Southern in the semis. And I guess that's single elimination. All right. And then they didn't get to the regional. But they've gone to the regional 3 years in a row, right? They won the tournament. They went on the run in the tournament last year. And this year they win the conference regular season, right? They were picked 4th and they won by 3 ball games. So the Cajuns are heading the right direction. LSU, God, I mean, Johnson comes in, goes to the NCAA tournament, wins a national championship, has this team that is looking like one of the worst LSU teams in, recent history. And he turns them around. And part of that was he got all pissy with his phones being a distraction, and that may just be him talking. Because who's got a phone when you're taking BP? Do they have the phones in the dugout when you're taking BP? I would think not. But I don't know. But he said no more phones. Whatever. But then it got to the point where now I got to lift their spirits. Now I got to get them confident. And they went on this, huge run, taking 2 out of 3 from an A&M, end up sweeping Ole Miss, playing for the championship in the SEC. The Cajuns, baseball was like 9-8, but conference record wise, these guys were 3-12. And we're not very, getting, swept by Arkansas. When they lose like 8 out of 9 to Vandy, Arkansas, and Tennessee. It was going in the wrong direction. We're going to have a historically bad LSU season. And they played in the finals in Carolina. Now, I did see a Carolina fan say, it was a host, that Carolina earned this because they shouldn't have had to play LSU. This guy was upset that they actually had to play LSU. I'm not sure how much you earn it when the right fielder drops the ball. That's taking advantage, but I'm not sure earned it. Now, they did bring in Gage Jump, and this is interesting conversation because as soon as the Cajuns got a 6-1 lead, Foote was like, take Langevin out. Which would have been my thought because of how many pitches I don't think he can go over 30, 35 pitches. And he was very efficient he came into the 6th and the 7th. And then you could have taken him out in the 9th before he got in all the trouble, and they brought him back out there. Do you take Gage Jump out at that point in time? As soon as they tie the ball game up, do you take him out? Because now, he's either on, even if this is a throw day, if they play Friday, if they end up playing Friday, it's short rest. If it's Saturday, then it's an even shorter rest now because it's Monday. Or you just decide we're going to go with Luke Holman. You move Holman up a day. And if you happen to get the Saturday, Sunday, Monday regional, then I guess it wouldn't matter because it kind of looked like Gage Jump was going to go. Like, all right, we're in this. We're doing this. He certainly had good stuff. A couple of hard hit balls, well placed. One was a double. But again, the ball should have been caught in right field. So, Brown hit a home run, did not have a good day in the outfield. And hopefully LSU fans won't be too hard on the kid. That's a brutal way. The Cajuns lost let me see if I can find that even here. All right, the Cajuns lost the Super Regional. Now, my memory could be off when the drop in center field actually happened. Let me see. Because that was against Mississippi State, right? I happen to think it was the second game, but let me see here. Or Ole Miss. So they beat Ole Miss 9-5. They lost to Ole Miss 5-2. Let me see if we get the box score. See if we got it in play-by-play. Because I think there was a error in the 8th inning. Let me see here. I thought someone dropped a ball. Maybe not. Oh, yeah. Will Allen reached on a fielding error by the center fielder, who would have been, let's see. Seth Harrison dropped the baseball. So it would have been, let's see here. You would have had a single, you would have had one on. Baranek gives up 1 run. Oh, the Cajuns actually tie it up on a Blake Trahan RBI single. So it's 2-2. Bousfield leads off the 8th with a single. Anderson walked. So you have runners on at first and second. And Allen reaches on a fielding error. And that gives Ole Miss the lead. Like he just dropped the ball, and it was not near the wall. I remember sitting down the left field line and couldn't believe it. Like I'm actually so impressed. Softball, baseball, these guys usually catch everything. And when I say usually, I'm talking like 99.9%. But Harrison dropped the ball, and so you would have had 2 on, but 1 out. Orvis then singled, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered. That loaded the bases, and Bortles with a 2-run pinch hit single. And then that kind of took the wind out of the Cajun sails. But I just remember Seth Harrison dropping the ball in center field. They lost the next game 10-4. Now, ironically, coincidentally, like Ole Miss didn't even make the tournament this year, and they have not played well since winning the national championship. It's crazy. So who else lost yesterday? I mean, Florida won. They're going to the Super Regional. I didn't think they belonged at all. They proved that they did, or certainly took advantage of the opportunity. I went to bed. I presume that could be a bad presumption. UConn baseball won. I presume Oklahoma didn't come all the way back. I mean, they go in to Oklahoma. They win 7-1. That's unbelievable. So stuff like that can be done, right? I'm not sure Oklahoma is A&M. And I still don't think. I mean, even if the Cajuns beat Texas, I still don't think they beat A&M. A&M is just that good. Again, their top 4 guys had 85 home runs in their line. The top 4 guys in the A&M lineup had 85 home runs. The Cajuns hit 80. Now, all right, so LSU loses. What now for the Cajuns? Kevin did a good job. You can go read that in The Advocate. I guess my concern, as we are where we are, hopefully Chase Morgan comes back, freshman of the year, but someone's going to offer him a little bit of cash, whatever that is. Okay. Now David Pierce from Texas is probably on the way out, I guess everybody thinks. But does he go get a Chase Morgan to come in, right? Because he saw what he did to them. Can he do that for them? I'm sure A&M was watching that ball game, right? And this Chase Morgan kid's pretty good. Not to mention the guys down the road, right? I mean, Jump and Holman are going pro, right? So I guess they still think Thatcher Harrod's going pro. Guidry is he in the rotation. Who's the LSU rotation? So that would be my little concern, that LSU is going to say, hey, Chase. Now, I have spoken to somebody about that, and that was a while ago. And how loyal he is. I mean, loyalty only goes so far, and I can appreciate that. And it would appear that Chase would have, a good opportunity to, I would think he's going to be the Friday night starter. Herman comes back. You probably want to I'd want to separate those two. I'd want to put Herman on Sunday, and then we'll figure out who's going to pitch. It could be J.R. Tollett, for all I know, if he's supposed to be a starter. Is Dalen Toit supposed to be a starter? So Morgan could be your Friday night starter. But I'll tell you, if I am Crew Alons, I'm figuring out how to keep Chase Morgan. Right? Fast. That would be, hey, let's see how we can figure that one out, because I would think that other teams are coming to get him. Right? We'll see. Now, I would also say, and it is what it is, he's going to have a much easier time. He could go make some cash at an LSU, but you're a competitor and you want to pitch against the best, and you got a better shot to get drafted. that may be all true, but and then you will, because if you are facing, and whatever the case may be, now it's Texas and Oklahoma, whatever the schedule is, you got, it could be A&M one weekend and Florida the next weekend, and then Arkansas the next weekend, and Tennessee the next weekend, and that's not exactly what the Cajuns face this year, right? It's not, ULM and Marshall and a Georgia State if they're on it, or you got Southern Miss, you got Coastal, Troy. Texas State wasn't that good, so you may actually pitch better, but your stats may not look as good. Now, there is a little downside to that. Now, if you pitch extremely well, you're going to be a high prospect, but those scouts are pretty good, and they can see if you've got the good stuff or not. So he can absolutely get drafted, but if you put up the same numbers in the SEC as he would in the Sun Belt, he'll get drafted higher. But does he put up those same numbers? So there's a little downside to that possibility. So that would be my main concern. I don't think we're concerned about any other Cajuns leaving. I mean, Amadei, probably not. Torres, no. Stelly, no. Higgs, no. I don't, any of the potential guys coming back. I don't think so. I mean, maybe Harmon, but I doubt it. I would think he would come back. All right. A couple more minutes here. This Caitlin Clark conversation is fascinating, right? I mean, there was a cheap shot, and it keeps on escalating, right? There's a cheap shot, and the player wouldn't talk about the cheap shot. Went on social media, talked about the cheap shot, and somehow Angel Reese is begging for exposure in all of this. I mean, there's the racial component to it. There's the sexism component to it. It is crazy. And then again, we went from what's going on in the WNBA to Monica McNutt calling out Stephen A, and then Stephen A going back and saying, hey, I made you. Oh my God. I mean, seriously? That's where we are? It has escalated quickly. Then the Chicago newspaper wrote an editorial like, if this was on the street, this would have been assault. If this wasn't sport, I mean, who reads what the editors are writing? Because I think the writers for the Chicago newspaper came out and said, what are you doing? Right? This, I mean, just to let you know, when Caleb Williams gets sacked, if you do that on the street, it's an assault. I mean, what are we doing? But there is something going on there, whatever it is. Saw Clinton Yates say yesterday, about, Caitlin Clark's getting all this money and getting all the credit and exposure and yada, yada, yada. And, there's something to it where a lot of the other women in the WNBA are not. And we're making that decision in 5.5 seconds. And that, by the way, I don't even know what happened before she got the shoulder, right? Like directly before, not like during the game when she's yapping because she's a talker. Caitlin Clark's a talker. So in the 3.5 seconds when this decision was made that she was going to, hit her in the shoulder like that from behind, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much money she's getting. I can't believe all the attention she's getting. Screw her. I'm going to take her out. Right. I don't get it. Right. Though the question is, Alyssa Boston was standing right there. Like, what are we doing? First of all, go pick her up. Second of all, probably shove the other one to the ground. If that was the NBA, right, people would, you'd have to worry about people coming off the bench. Now, so the chatter is amazing what's going on in that, right? And there's all kinds of things like the attendance figures for Caitlin Clark, like she's selling out major arenas, or the Fever are. They've played twice as many games as the Aces. Like, what is going on? And also I've talked about this when it happened. Like, there's no time in between, right? They opened up. when they opened up like 2 weeks ago or something like that. 3 weeks ago. Like she was playing in the WNBA and was like 6 weeks since she stopped playing in college. Wow. That's crazy fast. And there's no recuperation. There's nothing, right? I mean, she's been, obviously she's being well compensated for it, and that's the same thing for Angel Reese or any of the rookies, that there's no time to, rest and then get your body into shape, to play, right? And it took the Pistons to take Jordan down before he said, all right, right? And, I think, what did you put on, 15, 20 pounds of muscle? Well, I'm sure we'll see Angel and Caitlin looking a little bit different when their bodies have a chance to rest. And then, the work that you need to put in to be able to compete at the level that they're competing at. All right. We are getting ready to go to Orange Theory. We did go up to Orange Theory in College Station. And again, I'm really disappointed in the fact that everybody was so nice in College Station. They really were. And there's such a rivalry between the two teams, between Texas and A&M. And everybody it was great. They fed us incredibly well, although Roy Philpott seemed to get some food that the rest of us couldn't find. I will say everyone was very interested in where I got my did a pint of cookies and cream because I wanted some Bluebell. I'm at Bluebell Park. I need some Bluebell ice cream. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what a pint is supposed to cost. I know what a bar costs, and it feels like the bar wasn't as good as deal as the pint. So, and then by the time I got the pint, I went to eat dinner, and then people were asking where I got it, and I went to the concession stand. And again, I hope Brian Maggard went there. That is what they do there for the concession stand. If you could do it at a smaller level where it's kind of again, like the gas station, right? You put the stuff, if you go inside, you put it in and it scans, and somehow that works for the concessions. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how that works for a hot dog when it's wrapped in tinfoil, but it's a great idea. If you could do that on a smaller scale for Cajuns football, that seemed to be really efficient. The way they had the concession lines for at College Station, but everyone was so nice. That Tex Ags thing, if you guys know Billy Lucci, my guy Gabe Bach used to work there. That is basically across the street from the baseball stadium, which means it's around the corner from Kyle Field. It's got quite the operation there. Yeah, it was great. Driving back yesterday was a thing. So I tried to do this, and maybe it wasn't the Wi-Fi at the hotel, and so I just couldn't get it to go. So all right, so let's get going. Try to find some gas. That took a minute. And then I did the podcast for over an hour. And then I got on the phone with somebody, and I wasn't paying it. I was paying attention. I screwed up. Probably should have looked at the directions before, because I did it because I, got in the car after gas. And I'd like to see, when you do Google Maps, again, it is really close to what time you're going to arrive. And it was supposed to be like 12:05. It was like 4.5 hours. And I went the wrong way. I got down to Houston and I went the wrong freaking way. I went towards the damn city instead of away from the city. Should have hopped on 610 instead of hopped on 10 and went the wrong way. That was about a half an hour out of my way. A little bit of traffic. Super genius. Brutal. There were a ton of cops out for a Monday. I don't know if it's because it's the new month. And we got hit quotas. There was a major accident coming out of Lake Charles. I think a tractor trailer went into the ditch, and that backed up traffic a good 2 miles. Someone was getting arrested on the side of the road driving Mercedes. There were 2 or 3 cops that seemed to be in a car chase and got him. I'm not sure Arby's was the best of all decisions. But I will say this: the fries were incredibly fresh. Like the fries were too hot to start. The fries were too hot. You know, it was. I still got back at 12:40. Although I was crashing at the end. I did buy a Red Bull when I stopped for Arby's, and I was crashing at the end. So I had to have a couple of sips of that. Actually passed. I came home, passed right out, and my phone rang, spam, of course, and I was up. Instead of sleeping from like 1 to 2, I slept from like 1 to 1:20. um, but overall, a good trip to College Station, and we'll see where we go from here. We did have some Cajuns news, basketball wise. They just keep on going. Let me see if we got the no. There's that. Let me see. After losing a transfer, Cajuns basketball adds a rebound specialist to the roster. The first guy to transfer in was Duncan Powell, and I was told he was pretty good, but now he's out. So they went to go get Zeke Cook from Jackson State, 6.5 minutes, 6.5 points, and 6 rebounds. He's only 6'6". So we'll see what that means in the Sun Belt. But the Cajuns, right? They lost 3 players, but now they have. Let me see here. But now they have 6 guys moving in. All right. So coming in, you got Jeremiah Evans, although he's a recruit. Kendall Davis from Eastern Illinois. Mustafa from Indian River State. Christian Wright from Oregon State. And Corin Davis from Louisville. So they got a bunch of guys coming in. So we'll see. All right. It was also interesting. I think I mentioned this yesterday on how, and obviously Deggs does a great job. And I was asked, what the team thinks of him. And as far as I know, I think they like him, right? He is this odd combination. It is of the old school work ethic, which everybody likes to claim they have, but old school work ethic, right? The water hose boys. Okay. But analytics, he absolutely is analytical when it comes to math and, how he sets up a lineup, and overreaction. So he wants hardworking guys, which is great. Yeah, and then he's going to use the math to help him, right? Why does Trey LaFleur lead off? Because he's got the best batting average leading off an inning and best on base percentage. And it doesn't even have to do with the first time at the plate, leading off the game. It's just whatever inning he does, he's got a great, and the math backed him up on it. But then, sometimes he's pulling pitchers too soon. You hit a home run in one game, you come back and play the next. I think Broussard got in the lineup against Georgia Southern, didn't come out. Now, he's coming back too, right? He'll be back. So he's got this odd combination of all of that: work ethic, new school, old school work ethic, new school analytics, and then kind of overreacts. But I think they like him. I don't know if there's any complaints in-house about Deggs. And, Gunnar may overreact. If Gunnar is the one actually making the pitching changes, he may overreact as well. But it's his first year. I mean, you got to, somewhere you got to get the guy some slack. So it's his first year doing this. He'll do a better job, whatever kind of job he did, relating to the players, explaining to the players what he wants, and realizing, right, it's not one size fits all, right? So somewhere along the way, I got to beat this guy up. I can push this guy, and there's other guys that I got to, keep on building up, right? Some guys can take it, some guys can't, and you got to figure out, which way, and pitching coach is part, coach and part psychiatrist, psychologist. So I think they'll be fine. They'll probably, they'll probably be picked to finish 3rd or 4th in the Sun Belt. Who knows? what everybody else is going to look like. But if you lose the player of the year and the pitcher of the year, it's kind of tough to say, we're going to repeat. But as Foot pointed out, who saw what Trey LaFleur was going to do that this year? So we'll see. I think they're in good shape. Again, I think my own belief is that there is generally a ceiling to what the Cajuns can do. Evansville takes down ECU. We'll see who wins the Supers. I think it was like 7 of the top 8 seeds all won the Supers, right? Or going to the Supers. Yeah. Somewhere along the way, you gotta not get matched up with an A&M, right? That's a bad matchup for the Cajuns, and it wouldn't have mattered if they had beaten Texas the first game around or not. That A&M team is really good. When you're bringing in, as Deg says, regardless of the strike zone, when you're bringing in Cortez behind the lefty, jeez, that's tough to deal with. So, it is what it is. All right, we need to wrap things up. I thought did I have something else to talk about? We did talk about the ride back. Really smooth ride back, I guess. And we talked about the basketball and everything. All right, so now we start talking football. I hadn't done a Locked On Sunbelt. I'll probably do a Locked On Sunbelt today after Orange Theory. We need to do that, wrapping it up. And the Sunbelt had they all made the regional finals. No one was 2-out. Arizona went 2-out in their own regional. Yeah, and somewhere along the way, I would say that I don't know how you would change it. So Texas, let's go back. So Texas played the Cajuns in the second game. All right. But that game ended still 8:30. Do you come back and play the first game the next day? The winners come back and play the first game the next day. Because it's not about that game, really. It's about the game after that. Because again, just a brutal, even if it just goes 9 innings, to have to come back after that, after what they did with the A&M game. And if that was the Cajuns, it would be, oh my goodness, how do you come back from that within 12, 14 hours? Like Ace Whitehead said, he didn't fall asleep till 3 or 4 and he didn't play. You're just always thinking. And they were taking BP. I know they're kids and whatever, but, they're on less than 6 hours of sleep. I don't know. It just doesn't seem, again, first world problems. I get it. But that's a tough spot for a team, right? That's a tough spot. You actually won your first game, lost the second game, and now in an elimination game, your back is up against the wall, and you actually beat the Cajuns, but they got the advantage because they rested because, they beat Grambling at 2, right? So they're sitting there, showered and eaten while they watch you play till midnight. Even just with nothing, your game ends at midnight. You're playing 14 hours later. That's rough. I don't know what the NCAA can do about that, but maybe that starts with, I doubt it has anything to do with A&M outside of they may be able to choose when they want to play first. That the host team may get to choose to say, we'll play in the first game or we'll play in the second game. And I think by the time, day 2 is there, that's where TV says you're playing, why wouldn't you put Texas and Texas A&M in primetime? That's where the TV says, we're putting it in primetime, right? That's where maybe TV kind of takes over. So it's not even up to the NCAA at that point in time. Or A&M for that factor reason. All right, what did we have yesterday? We had like Maybe people just wanted to see me drive home. We had like 140, well, like 60 views right now, 230 views. Now, pretty good yesterday. Really appreciate it, guys. We're gonna have to start to think about we actually going to talk about NBA. We got to wait till Thursday for the NBA. I don't know how much we're going to talk about hockey. There's really nothing else on. You do have the college softball World Series taking place. Florida bounces back. I think they have to play Oklahoma again. And then we do have the College World Series. Still watch that. And maybe I start watching my Yankees. I mean, they're all of a sudden, they're really good, right? Between them and the Phillies, they got the best record in baseball. And apparently Phillies are drawing really well. Let me see here. Standings. Yankees are 2.5 up on the Orioles. They've won 5 in a row and 8 out of 10. The Orioles have won 8 out of 10. The Indians are good. The Royals are 4 back. Twins are 6 back. Mariners have a 4.5 game lead on the Rangers. Astros 7 back, but still 7 under 500. Reality has showed up for the A's. The Angels stink. Phillies 7 games up on the Braves, but the Braves are all kind of banged up, so they may run away with that. Brewers have a 7-game lead on the Cubs. Cardinals aren't very good. Dodgers with a 7-game lead over the Padres. I mean, I presume the AL West is not done. The Central seems to have a race, and it's the Yankees and the Orioles. Like, are these things settled already? God. It does not make for an exciting baseball season. That's for sure. But the Yankees are really good. They got 42 wins. Orioles got 38. Guardians 36. Cleveland 39. The Royals 36. And that's pretty good, right? So they'd be six. The Royals would still be only 6 games behind the Yankees. That's pretty good. Phillies are 42-19. The Yankees are 42-19. Collision course, they're really good. Really good. All right. We're off to Orange Theory. Thanks so much. Please subscribe. I got to figure, maybe I just got to put that logo in there as a picture for all my episodes. It gets more people to watch. In terms of what's going on with me, we'll see if I have something to report this week. Hopefully. All right. So we shall see. Some things are coming to a head. We'll see. Should have something to say, hopefully, this week, maybe as soon as tomorrow. So if we figure it all out. All right, everybody have a good day. Place is nice and clean. It got cleaned last Wednesday, and I haven't made it a mess. I did. The most important thing for me, well, I haven't quite unpacked, but I did throw my laundry into the machine first thing. That was a really good move. And that laundry's been put away. So that's a good move. I think there's a couple other things in the bag that I have to put away, but that's all right. Typical overpacking. And I did not get any bourbon. I thought about actually stopping in Beaumont. I don't need any more. I actually have a bottle coming, which is a cool bottle. I'm not sure even how good the bourbon is, but it's a cool bottle. And hopefully that arrives in one piece in a couple of days. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. Look for a Lockdown Sunbelt episode recapping the baseball. I mean, everyone had a good one, right? Southern Miss won a game. JMU won a game. Coastal won a game. And then they just ran into the hosts. And a lot of these hosts are pretty good. All right. I thought they'd have a shot against NC State. I think they did, actually. But Tennessee routs Southern Miss. Tennessee's the number 1 team in the nation. And Southern Miss, they got screwed. they got screwed. I'm not sure it would have been any different if they played A&M, but they got screwed. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got to go off to Orange Theory, and have a good day, everybody.